Nicky Sendonis says, "Good morning, Forsen. It was good to see you play Tekken again yesterday. Take a look at this video. The good ass game with the Crane's throne." I'm following Leffen on Twitter, and he seems to be very upset about Tekken. I think he started learning Tekken recently or something, and he seems to be very upset with the Tekken community. Is he good? I haven't seen his stream. He's for those of you who don't know, he's a pro Smash player, Swedish. Is he good at Tekken? Because it's such a different kind of fighting game, right? Such a different one. He's decent for just getting started. Does he only lab, or does he actually play online ranked? Online? Only against IRL friends. Comparing Smash to actual fighting games. I mean, let's not get ahead of yourself. Here. He is a Smash player, but he also won. He also played the Dragon Ball one, whatever that was called, right? And that's a 2D fighting game. Tekken is a bit different, but the Smash players are probably good at every fighting game, you know. I think Tekken is potentially harder than Smash is, but I'm not sure. Tekken might be harder than... we're talking melee here, we're not talking Smash 4 or anything. We're talking melee. Of course it is, you say? I don't know if it's guaranteed.
Tekken was fighting games' best kept secret.
Tekken was never really the popular game like that.
For years, it lived in the shadows of more popular fighting games, more known fighting games, more competitive fighting games. But when the other games fell flat, Tekken finally got its shot. Its chance to prove that none of that was true. That Tekken could be the biggest, best, and most exciting fighting game on the planet. And this is its story.
2 seconds! Oh my God! Unbelievable!
Get ready for the next battle.
Despite consistent commercial and critical success, Tekken was rarely the biggest competitive game in the scene. These days, though, you'd be hard-pressed to call it anything other than the most exciting fighting game in the world.
No time. What's he gonna do? Hey, you can think he's gonna have to go low. There's no time left. Oh, snap! That's not Are you serious? Oh my God!
Wow.
Udon is crazy. My God!
Like most of the genre's foundational works, Tekken wasn't always the game we know today. Tekken began its life as a tech demo, a chance for its developer Namco to prove their designers could make 3D characters that looked as good as the competition. But as the weeks and months went on, the experiment became a fighting game, first called Rave War and later Tekken.
What was it called? Rave Wars? Rave War.
Tekken, meaning Iron Fist in Japanese, was built as a cheaper alternative for arcades looking for a game like Sega's innovative 3D hit, Virtua Fighter 2. It had a similar aesthetic, similar gameplay, even similar characters. And that all makes sense since the game shared a director. But Tekken had something that its biggest competitor didn't: a PS1 port.
And it was like a Christmas gift that I saw my dad, hiding it in like a shelf with other PlayStation games, but I'm like, Tekken, what's this,
Being on the best-selling console of the era helped Tekken overtake Virtua Fighter in the 3D space, and it put it neck and neck with its other major competitor, Street Fighter. But there were other things that helped Tekken stand out. It might not have been first to the punch, but it was one of the most finely tuned 3D fighters. It also had a more involved story than its competitors, which came alongside some extremely memorable
That looks so scuffed. I mean, I remember
and
this
perhaps
from
more
the game.
importantly, its combat was a little more rooted in reality than the plasma-chucking anime-esque competition. As the years went on and Tekken evolved, that focus on hard-hitting action right out of a kung fu movie made it stand out even more. Sure, a bear fighting a guy in a leopard mask wasn't exactly realistic, but it was definitely cool. Between the gameplay and the aesthetics, Tekken drew in a lot of people.
It's like a mixture of over-the-top.
I thought King was
and
actually a
realism that was
tiger
just perfect when combined.
when I was a kid.
And it was just different. It was different, but it was interesting. You know, I like the way the moves looked when they hit, like it was dynamic, it was very flashy.
I don't know about no fucking wrestling.
Off the rougher edges, Tekken turned many players into fans for life, and no one exemplifies that more than Nii, the man widely considered the greatest Tekken player of all time.
철권은 되게 어렸을 때부터 했는데 철권 1부터 했거든요. 그게
Wait, how old is this guy?
제가 진지하게
He's probably like 35 or something, right?
2004년 철권 5 때부터 시작했습니다. 그때는 이제
He's 30.
보면 막 사람이랑 곰이랑 막 이렇게
34.
싸우고 있었는데 그 뭐 호랑이 가면 쓴 캐릭터도 나왔고 그게 너무 좀 신기했어요.
Nii is the model Tekken player. Skilled, dedicated, and in love with the game. So much so that he paid out of pocket to run tournaments and get people playing the game. But Nii's efforts didn't begin until much later, after Tekken really took off.
I remember Tekken 3 intro.
So
Classic.
Tekken 3's launch was a really, really big deal, not just for Tekken, but I feel like for games in general, right? Tekken 3 is where it went from like, oh, just another fighting game to the game everyone had to own, right? It was like a reason to have a PS1 at that point.
Tekken 3's elaborate mo-capped graphics and stronger, more competitive design led to near universal acclaim. It sold millions of units and broke Tekken into the mainstream. All of a sudden, Tekken was the biggest fighting game in the world.
90% were still button mashers.
Were about to face their greatest obstacle.
Who owned Tekken? Just literally button mashing and grabs.
Western arcades.
No one
died
had
in the
any
late
like
90s,
competitive or
and they took a lot of
mechanic,
genres
including
with
me.
them. Shmups, beat 'em ups, light
Sense.
gun games, all gone in a flash. And plenty of developers were caught flat-footed when their cash cows no longer had an audience, which meant that as the PS2 came out and marked the beginning of a new generation for gaming, fighting game developers were forced to rethink their games. Street Fighter all but went away, and with Sega's departure from the console space, Virtua Fighter games went from yearly to once per console generation. But Tekken survived these lean times and even thrived.
So from the get-go, Tekken was never really the popular game like that. And you know, so we just had to play for the love of the game. And that was kind of how it was for Tekken 4, Tekken 5.
While Tekken 4, 5, 6, and Tag 2 didn't quite hit the critical and commercial highs of Tekken 3, the games performed well and kept Tekken chugging along while much of its competition all but vanished. And it allowed Tekken's competitive community to thrive too.
Is Steve winning every fucking Tekken?
2K10 Evo champion.
The fuck?
Going to win.
Oh, he gets it. This could be it.
I think this is it.
This
folks.
might be it, folks.
Give it up.
And he gets it.
2011 Evo World Champion.
2011?
Tekken's competitive scene started like pretty much any other fighting games. Arcade showdowns evolved into local tournaments that slowly grew larger and larger. It had a place at EVO, the biggest fighting game tournament in the world, which is where some people began to learn about how international the game really was. By then, many in the West realized that Tekken's best players didn't just come from North America, Japan, and Europe. There were strong competitors from all over the world, particularly Korea, where Tekken's very best still trained in packed arcades.
But if you find old videos of arcades in Korea, not every arcade, not all the time, but if it was an event or, you know, like, or just before the event, the arcades were packed. You couldn't even see any screens because it was just bodies, hundreds of bodies in the way.
At EVO 2003,
Hundreds of
Tekken's
bodies.
first showing at the tournament KVM shocked the American competition and beat Ryan Hart to take first place in Tekken Tag Tournament. The Korean overlords had arrived. The mid-90s saw an economic crisis across much of East Asia, and a lot of companies went out of business, including the one that shipped Capcom's arcade games from Japan to Korea. But Namco's games still made it out, making Tekken into Korea's national fighting game.
Oh, how
So
convenient.
Koreans have always been the gold standard in Tekken. That's because
So
all
that's
of their
why
top players
I actually
live
was
close
always
together where they
wondering
can kind of
why
travel and
Tekken
play
was
on
so
a
more
regular basis.
was popular
This
than
was especially
Street
the
Fighter.
case back when arcades were still really popular, and the best players in the world would meet up every day at Seoul in Green Arcade to play.
Slowly, word of the Korean players started to spread throughout the rest of the world, but their dominance wasn't stopped by other players' skills. Tekken itself was slowing down. In 2009, it missed out on EVO, and the FGC pendulum swung away from Tekken.
And it was still, you know, relatively popular in a competitive space, but the games weren't necessarily pleasing that fan base as much. There were a couple issues I think people had with some of the newer releases as time went on, and it kind of started to wane a little bit.
2008 was a huge year for the FGC. Street Fighter IV revived competitive fighting games basically single-handedly. It brought back lapsed players and introduced a ton of fresh blood to the scene. Tekken didn't go away, but it certainly wasn't in the spotlight. And as Street Fighter exploded, Tekken began to fade. So much so that an entire generation of players could retire and all but fade from memory.
Do they have a standard for the monitor sizes when they play tournaments, so that everyone can practice on that
Tekken
size at
6
home?
and Tag 2 were solid games.
Like, is it the same
but
every
they just weren't
tournament?
as big as Street Fighter 4 and Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
They have no?
Tekken was in the right place at the wrong time.
Tekken at the time was in no way what it is today, right? The local tournament might have had like 16 players at the most.
The future of Tekken was in limbo. Development on Tekken 7 was pushed back, and while the game eventually made it to arcades in 2015, it was basically unplayable for anyone in the West until June of 2017, when it came out on consoles worldwide. But amidst the missteps of Street Fighter V's release, Tekken 7 found new life. Tekken 7 did everything right. From slow motion and high tension moments to incredible hit sparks, the gorgeous graphics and the wild guest characters,
Not gonna lie,
it was
sometimes the slow
designed
motion is
to
scuffed
bring the
up.
hype, and that's exactly what it did. Tekken had always felt slightly out of place, slightly ahead or behind its competitors. But with Tekken 7, it was finally in the right place at the right time.
What controller do you use?
Tekken 7
I use a
doesn't change the formula
PlayStation
much.
4
In
controller,
fact,
but
most of what
yesterday I
made it
played
stand
on
out
an
from the
Xbox
other
controller,
fighting games in the 90s is
I
also
was
what makes
lazy.
it stand out today. It's more complicated than just about any other major competitor, which is a pretty stark departure from industry trends.
There's room for flexibility for you to be your own self and express your personality. You can have 10 people that use the same character, but they will all look completely different.
It has crazy,
Not in
bone-crunching
tournaments,
hits.
they won't.
Oh,
He's going against the wall.
Is he going
We're
down?
going downstairs.
He should be able to get the follow-up with the screw as
Corkscrew.
well.
Oh, he went for the hard combo.
Oh my God.
He's going to do it. He got the round.
And Magin finally on the
my.
scoreboard.
I can feel it in my loins.
And now the industry standard array of crazy guest characters. But with its competitors lagging behind, Tekken had the chance to display some incredible stories. Stories that were always there, just never in the limelight. Knee's years-long dominance continued into yet another Tekken game, forcing an entire new generation of players to respect his name.
It's gonna be very, very close though. And the Oki behind
Oh,
it.
he
The
caught
Sonic
him.
Bang.
The
Knee.
second hit.
Knee is your champion for EVO Japan 2018. The legend is back.
Knee's legacy is one of working his hardest to make Tekken huge, a legacy of playing as much Tekken as possible and encouraging others to play the game alongside him. And his performance in Tekken 7 only served to remind people why he's called the King of Tekken.
The delivery. be the tournament.
No.
Bing, bing, not dead, not dead, not dead. 50-50, tackle, get off, get off. 5 seconds, 3, 2, 1, and me is your combo breaker champion.
Yo guys, y'all gonna tell me that one good though? Y'all gonna tell me that one good though? Of course, guys, please make some noise for Rock's Dragons. Yo, that dude is a legend. That dude is actually a legend.
Then there was Kudons, who shocked the world with his return to competition.
군대 중에는 게임을 못 하지. 왜냐면은 2년 동안 군복무를 해야 되니까 게임을 할 수가 없고 2009년도에 이제 전역을 했는데 전역하고 나서는 사실 철권을 아예 안 하려고 그랬어.
As Tekken faded in the mid-2000s, Kudons went with it, choosing to get a job after finishing his mandatory military service. But after his father passed away, his search for meaning and comfort.
Yeah, I remember that. StarCraft players also had to go there, even though they were like winning everything. They had to go mandatory military service.
이제 내가 마음이 너무 허하더라고. 마음이 너무 허해가지고 이거를 좀 어느 정도 내 자신을 잡아가는데 뭐가 필요할까 이제 생각을 하던 와중에.
It's not so common anymore, right? You guys are mostly European right now. Do you have it in your country? Mandatory military service?
연습을 하고 이제 아케이드에 가서 다시 뽑기.
Yes, no.
And once he came back, he showed the world why he was feared in his prime.
Kudan's the legend,
yes,
the ghost of Tekken past. He's been
not
doing
forced.
this since the beginning.
Yeah, that's what I meant by
Kuma
mandatory.
doesn't have many opportunities here, but again.
Yes, and it sucks.
Woo, teleports out of there, last chance. Man, wow. What an impressive game from Kudan. The time!
What's he gonna do? There's no time left. Got him with it. There's no time left, and that is gonna do it.
Oh, that is it. What a way for JDCR. The end for JDCR. The standing. Oh, look at the crowd.
And we are, of course, in our grand finals. It's going to be a 3 out of 5. If Kudans wants to be the global champion, he has to win 2 sets.
No time. What's he gonna do?
Russia is really monk-esque.
He's gonna have to go low.
Yeah.
There's no time left.
I guess they have mandatory.
Are you serious? Oh my God! Kudans is crazy. My God! Okay, the rage. Oh, this is big. This one does so much damage.
So huge. So huge.
Oh, the wall. Oh, he got it.
He got it! Kudans is your global champion.
And they torso touched.
The celebration.
Congratulations to Kudans from South Korea. He is your 2017 Tekken 7 World Champion.
But Tekken's renaissance
I feel like
didn't
a lot of these
just spotlight
Koreans are
legendary
old.
Korean players. In America, where
I'm surprised
most
they can
players
keep
didn't
up with
get
all the
access to
youngsters,
Tekken
right?
7 until it was released on consoles, a group of dedicated players
So
was ready to
much
overthrow
reflexes
the
needed.
Korean overlords. Anakin, a perennial American favorite, won Combo Breaker 2016, earning
Yeah,
a
I'm
direct
old too,
spot
but I
in the
don't
King
compete
of the Iron
professionally
Fist World
in
Championship.
fucking Tekken.
And Rip really not happy. If we could
The
get
insane
a
reactions
check
in this
again so we
game.
could see his face.
I think that's it. Oh, man.
Oh, he's
A clean
he's
round.
already
Anakin
up.
takes it.
The handshake.
But instead of taking the spot and sitting out the rest of the year, Anakin decided to decline and earn his way back into the tournament.
Yeah, I remember in 2016 for the very first Tekken tour in the North American.
He's the
region,
best American
they had a
player,
very
right?
funny rule where each
He
tournament
has to be. I always see
winner
him
would qualify
as
to
like
the
the
national
lone
finals. But if you
American
qualified, you
player
couldn't
in
enter.
every tournament
And in order
in
to,
top 8.
you know,
Never do I
re-enter
see
these
anyone
tournaments,
else
you would have to
anymore.
relinquish your spot in order to even compete. I had I was in a position where I was
Yeah, I
able
know
to
he
go to a
plays
lot of
Jack.
tournaments.
I don't know. I don't really
travel
understand the
and
hate
compete.
for Jack.
I wanted to make
Probably
the most out of that
because
opportunity, and I didn't want
I
to
don't
let
play
that
at a high
rule
level
kind of
myself.
stop me.
His story of perseverance and dedication to the game was outdone, though, by a player from the middle of nowhere who was ready to take the world by storm.
In Season 2, spamming Jackhammer to
Arslan
win.
Ash, a Pakistani
Oh yeah,
player with next to no experience on the world stage,
And the
came out of
elbow, right?
nowhere to win Evo Japan.
Oh my God.
Elbow attack.
Attention here. Paul's such a
I
hard-hitting
remember.
character here. You gotta be ready for it.
Pistons, Arslan trying to close out the tournament.
But he's pushing him towards the danger zone.
Oh, in the backswing.
He's in red zone.
range again. He's a Phoenix ahead. He's a Phoenix behind.
Oh,
He
he
blocked
done it.
it.
It's over.
Arslan's gonna get the tournament. Arslan, he's your Evo Japan champion.
Pakistan taking the tournament over the Philippines.
Despite a terrible travel schedule, visa issues, and the fact that he came from a scene almost no one knew existed, Arslan prevailed. And then he did it again.
All right, guys, this is the moment we have probably all been waiting for. We have the shining star of Pakistan, Mr. Arslan Ash.
What if there's another country that no one knows about that are fucking insane at Tekken?
It's gonna hurt.
Oh my
He's dead.
You never know with these console games.
Incredible. What a
Malta,
but he can
Uganda.
just easily tighten it up and make it so hard for me. Wow. Wow. And just like that, Arslan Ash, I mean, so dominant
What a
out of
statement
Pakistan.
there.
This is crazy.
What's going to happen right now? Knee looking for this opportunity.
I'm holding my breath.
Oh! They trade blows.
Oh, man, that was a crazy trade. Arslan cementing his position as the best Tekken player on the planet, untouchable.
Arslan became the first player to win both EVOs and the unquestionable best Tekken player in the world in under a year. He put Pakistani Tekken on the map and showed the world that Tekken was about more than just Korea.
Bro,
How did he do in this recent Evo? He wasn't in top 8, I know, but
Champion, wow. And I don't think anyone's going to forget this. Evo Japan champion, Evo world champion.
Making history.
Tekken 7's meteoric rise
Out in
finally
groups.
put it back on the same level as its competitors. And that recognition finally let these stories, years in the making, reach the masses. Tekken has the best gameplay, the best moments, and the best storylines. It has to be taken seriously as a competitive fighting game. It's unignorable.
yeah, there was no
There's just
Pakistan in
no
top
way
8.
on earth you can ignore
One American,
right? It's got the best
4
looking
Japanese
game,
players
it's
and
got
3
some of the best
Koreans,
gameplay.
or
I
4
think
Koreans,
it's got some of the best
3
storylines.
Japanese players.
A couple other fighting games this generation kind of faltered.
I don't remember
and
which
they're
one.
great now, but they took time to get there. Tekken 7 came out great and has only gotten better, and it's only going to keep getting better.
What many call Tekken's renaissance was earned. The game survived years of lean times, years of keeping a game alive when fewer and fewer people cared, years of championing the most difficult game, the most complicated game, while the industry moved away from that. Right now, at this moment, Tekken has what almost no other fighting game in the world does. A fully united community in love with the game, continuously pushing it forward. A community grinding it out, celebrating champions from all over the world. And a community that is always ready for the next battle.
Thanks for watching. If you want more content like
You know what the
this,
fighting
hit the
community
sub button
needs?
and ring that notification bell. For unique bite-sized videos you won't find anywhere else, hit up our Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook pages.
They need fucking holograms on stage, right? Instead of a flat screen. And then an arena. People around. In 50 years, maybe. In 50 years, maybe, baby. But yeah.
Just lube it up.
Yes. Suction.